Good morning. I'm Pastor David Chen from Cedar Valley Community Church, and this is Quiet Echo for Friday, January 2nd, 2026. The sanctuary is quiet this morning. Just me and the silence and the first light coming through the windows. It's a good time to think. I've been reading the editorials in this paper all week. Chloe's reflections on being present. Lars's resolution to write kinder words. The conversations about what it means to be an author of your own life. And I keep coming back to something Pope John XXIII said decades ago about how families should enter a new year. He said, "A concern to help, forgive, sympathize, and grant others the trust that we would like to be granted ourselves." And then he added, "This is how a house that does not collapse is built. Forgive, sympathize, trust." 4 verbs, 4 actions, 4 ways of being in the world. Not 4 feelings, not 4 beliefs. 4 things you do. Help the person in front of you. Forgive the one who wronged you. Sympathize with the one who's suffering. Trust the one who's trying. This is how a house that does not collapse is built. I've been a pastor in this valley for 26 years. I've stood at bedsides and gravesides. I've married young couples full of hope and buried old saints full of years. I've seen families come apart and families come together. And what I've learned is this: the houses that last aren't built on success or wealth or being right all the time. They're built on those 4 verbs. Help, forgive, sympathize, trust. I officiated a funeral last week. A woman named Margaret, 93 years old, lived her whole life in this valley. Her family didn't talk about her accomplishments. They didn't mention her possessions. They talked about her kitchen table. How it was always set for one more. How she never let anyone leave hungry. How she listened without interrupting and forgave without keeping score. That was her story. That was the house she built. And when the storms came, and they came, believe me, they came, that house did not collapse. There's a book making the rounds in Cedar Valley this week, The Power of Authors. Several of my parishioners have mentioned it. The idea is simple. Every person is an author. Not because we all write books, but because we all write stories with our lives. Every choice is a sentence. Every day is a paragraph. Every year is a chapter. What struck me is how naturally this aligns with Scripture. James tells us that faith without works is dead. Jesus says we will be known by our fruit. Paul urges us to walk in a manner worthy of our calling. The Bible has always understood that belief is not merely what we think. It's what we do. It's the story we write with our hands and feet and voices. And the story God invites us to write is remarkably consistent across traditions, across centuries, across cultures. Help the weak. Forgive the fallen. Sympathize with the suffering. Trust those who are trying. Told a parable about 2 builders. One man built his house on rock. When the rains fell and the floods came and the winds beat against it, it stood. Another man built his house on sand. When the storms came, great was its fall. We usually hear that story as a lesson about obedience. Build your life on Jesus' teachings and you'll be safe. And that's true. But this morning I'm hearing it differently. The rock is not cleverness. The rock is not wealth. The rock is not influence or popularity or being right. The rock is love. Patient. Kind. Not envious or boastful. Not proud or rude or self-seeking. Not easily angered. Keeping no record of wrongs. Always protecting. Always trusting. Always hoping. Always persevering. That's the foundation. That's the story God invites us to write. Chloe wrote yesterday that she wants to write words worth reading. True words. Kind words. Words that build instead of tear down. Lars resolved to make his emails and letters and notes reflect the faith he professes. These are not grand resolutions. They won't make headlines. They won't go viral. But they are exactly the kind of choices that build houses that do not collapse. As we step into 2026, may we build houses that do not collapse. May we write stories worth reading. May we help, forgive, sympathize, and trust, not because it's easy, but because it's the life we were made for. The blank pages are waiting. Let's write something that lasts. Quiet Echo is part of the Cedar Valley News series. The people in town are fictional, but the events we reflect on are real. If you'd like to know the full story behind Cedar Valley, the community you've come to know in these editorials first came together in Quiet Echo. When loud voices divide, quiet ones bring together. It's available on Amazon, links in the show notes.
You've been listening to the Cedar Valley News Podcast, where small-town voices meet the headlines shaping our world. From faith and family to front porches and fields. We'll be back with more stories connecting real lives to real events. Until next time, keep your porch light on, your faith strong, and your heart open.